Are the New York Knicks making a full court press for Jalen Brunson? And what does that mean for the Mavericks as they try to re-sign Jalen Brunson? This is Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all these Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And you can catch me on your home with the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105 through the Fan. And, of course, I'm your Mavericks insider for 105.3 the Fan. The reports continue to come in hot and heavy as we are into NBA free agency and obviously the offseason across the association. And your Mavericks are no shortage of being part of these rumors. We talked about the whole Miles Turner situation when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks. And now more information when it comes to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, of course, an unrestricted free agent for the Dallas Mavericks, looking for a new long-term contract here or somewhere else. And it appears a team like the New York Knicks is willing to make a full court press in order to try and bring in the former Villanova product. Reports coming from Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report that the New York Knicks are looking to clear $25 million in cap space in order to try and pursue Jalen Brunson, possibly moving off Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, and others to try and create the requisite space in order to bring in Jalen Brunson. And, of course, we know that earlier this summer that Jalen Brunson's father, Rick Brunson, was hired by the New York Knicks as an assistant coach under Tom Thibodeau. Now, remember, Rick Brunson used to be an assistant with Tom Thibodeau at a couple of other stops. So it's not like we haven't seen this before for Rick Brunson working for Tom Thibodeau. But obviously, the situation being a little bit different with his son now being a prized free agent candidate this summer, the New York Knicks needed to make a free agency splash as they try to figure out the best combination that they are needed to do so in order to compete significantly in the Eastern Conference. There's obviously significant ties there when it comes to World Wide West and his ties to the New York Knicks organization as well. So you could see how you could start to connect the dots 1, 2, and 3 about a possible Jalen Brunson signing in New York. But it gets me back to the very beginning of this. The New York Knicks have to create $25 million in cap space in order to try and pursue Jalen Brunson seriously, which gets us to the Mavericks, obviously. We've heard plenty of reports and heard Mark Cuban at the very end of the season, and you've heard it from Nico Harrison that the number one priority for this team when it comes to free agency is making sure that Jalen Brunson is back into the fold. Jalen Brunson can be offered more years and more money by the Mavericks than any other team. There's reports that a guy like Jordan Poole could command a 4-year deal upwards of $100 million. Let me tell you something. If Jordan Poole can make $100 million in this league, so can Jalen Brunson. Here's the other part when it comes to Brunson and why it makes all the sense in the world for the Dallas Mavericks to ensure that they're bringing him back into the fold. Jalen Brunson, if you lose him, you don't get any salary cap relief when it comes to your cap situation. So you need to sign him in order to keep the player, not just only the player, but also maintaining some financial flexibility going forward as well. By virtue of the fact that they own his bird rights, as I mentioned, they can give him more money than any other team can. Even teams like the Detroit Pistons and others who are going to have significant salary cap space this summer may not be able to compete with the Mavericks, knowing that the Mavericks can not only match in the offer, but exceed it because they do retain his bird rights. And here is why Jalen Brunson coming back to this team is that much more important. Even aside from the financial implications for the Mavericks and the on-court situation as he continues to grow as a player alongside Luka Doncic, where he will be projected to be in the starting lineup alongside Luka Doncic going into next year once he does resign, if he does. Jalen Brunson now becomes a real trade asset if you feel like the Mavericks are trying to parlay a guy like him, Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, or even the newly acquired Christian Wood into a trade piece that will allow you to make a significant move later on, either at the trade deadline this upcoming season or into next summer. So there's a lot of reasons why Jalen Brunson needs to be back in the fold for the Dallas Mavericks, mainly because they see him as a guy that will be part of the future that will help this team win a championship. A high-level role player that continues to grow, who has shown the ability to help this team win playoff games. And we know the 41-point performance that he had against the Utah Jazz was the signature performance of his playoffs this past season. So he has proven not only to be a reliable player, a very good player, but one that fits alongside Luka Doncic and the heliocentric nature of what the Mavericks are, because everything revolves around number 77. Jalen Brunson has become an essential part of this team with all the things that he does. Yes, undersized as a defender in this league, but a guy that takes a lot of charges and puts his body on the line for this team night in and night out. And obviously, he's become a much better scorer. We know how devastating he is when it comes to finishing at the paint. His mid-range has become very good, and he's become a very capable three-point shooter. So on the offensive end, he does a lot of the things that you need in order to play alongside Luka Doncic, namely being he can be a secondary ball handler that can create for himself and for his teammates. So there's a lot of reasons why Jalen Brunson is going to be sticking around with the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban wants it to happen. Nico Harrison wants to happen. And as I understand it, Jalen Brunson wants it to happen. He loves playing with the Dallas Mavericks. He loves playing with Luka Doncic, and he loves playing with his teammates. Told us during his exit interviews how much he loves playing in this city, how much he loves playing with his teammates, and obviously playing alongside his draft mate and Luka Doncic, of course, when they were drafted 4 years ago together in the 2018 NBA draft. All the advantages are there for him to be able to not only continue to have a high-level role here, but continue to grow under Jason Kidd. And that, to me, is where I think things will be able to turn in the most positive way when it comes to Jalen Brunson. It is because of Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd has been an advocate for Jalen Brunson all season long. Ever since he took the job as Mavericks head coach, Jason Kidd has had one goal in mind for Jalen Brunson, and that's to get him paid. The constant support, encouragement, and teaching that Jason Kidd provided to Jalen Brunson throughout the course of this past season was immeasurable. I can remember watching those two talking on the sidelines together in practice, having 15, 20-minute conversations about basketball and whatever the case may be. The relationship between Jason Kidd and Jalen Brunson, I believe, will be the biggest reason why Jalen Brunson resigns as a Dallas Maverick. Yes, the money is there. The financial security, the years, the overall money year after year. Yes, all that is fantastic, and he is not necessarily going to give you a hometown discount, nor should he have to based on the way that he's played so far. But we've got to get out of this mindset that he's not a $20 to $25 million player. He is well worth that when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks and what he brings. And I think the decision for him will come down to not just obviously the dollars and cents that he's going to get, but how he will continue to grow as a basketball player and how he wants to continue to forge his career in a situation where he was an essential cog on a team that went to the Western Conference Finals, playing alongside one of the 5 best players in the NBA, and more importantly, the growth and development that he experienced under Jason Kidd and the terrific relationship that they have been able to put together. That, to me, is going to trump everything when it comes to his decision on whether or not to leave or stay. Yes, there is a really cool thing to be able to play for your dad in the NBA, but that New York situation is tough. They're in transition. They're trying to figure out the best way to move forward in the Eastern Conference, and it's a tough market to play in. For Jalen Brunson, being comfortable not only with the team that he has, the defined role that he has, but also with a coach that sees the best for him and advocated for him throughout the course of this season, to me, it screams Jalen Brunson not going anywhere for the Dallas Mavericks. And that should be a positive sign for you, knowing that Jason Kidd is a difference maker in how players view and perceive this organization and why not they may want to come here. Because, yes, while Jason Kidd was a plus on the floor as a head coach and what he did this past year, he's a plus off the floor with his ability to connect with players who understand that he went through the exact same things that they did in order to become an NBA champion. That is why Jason Kidd in this particular situation and scenario is most valuable. He understands what Jalen Brunson's been through, what he's trying to get to, and more importantly, how to get there. That, to me, is extremely important here when you look at Jalen Brunson and evaluating whether or not the best decision for him would be to stay in Dallas. You'll continue to hear teams like the Detroit Pistons, like the New York Knicks, teams with cap space, like the Indiana Pacers, who may be in the running for a guy in Jalen Brunson's services. But make no mistake about it, and I know this for certain, they are motivated to get Jalen Brunson done and to get it done as soon as possible. And if that's the case, I would expect Jalen Brunson to be a Dallas Maverick for quite some time, and his ability to continue to grow with this team, you'll continue to see it throughout the course of his career. But hey, this is why we are in NBA offseason, trade rumor season, everything that's going to come about, and the Dallas Mavericks are going to continue to be in those conversations. And guess what? That's a great thing. Jalen Brunson, though, for me and my money, he's not going anywhere. And that should excite you if you're a Dallas Maverick fan. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all of these Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And remember, I'm your Mavericks insider for 105 through the fan. You can hit me up on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. If you got questions, if you got concerns, hit me up on Twitter. Let's talk about it, and we'll make sure that we get it taken care of for you right here on Inside the Mavs. This has been Inside the Mavs here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. I'll talk to you later. Peace.